Good morning. We'll get started in a few minutes. We're going to be on chapter our day 4 PowerPoint. We'll get started around 6:05 or so. Just wait for a few more people. We'll get started in a few minutes. Just wait for a few more people. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We'll get started in a few minutes. I'm doing the attendance now and I'm texting the people that are not here. Give me a couple minutes. About 2 more minutes and we'll get started. All right, let's just go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well this morning. So what we are going to talk about is creating a job description and salary and hourly, the difference and all of that. So I'm going to start off with that in just a second. How's everybody doing? Anybody? Does anybody know anybody with COVID right now? You do?
A
Oh
guy I
wow!
still work with, his wife has it, but she's still going out and hanging out with people, which is
Oh
really stupid.
wow! That's crazy. That is. But she's doing fine, or is she?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got a student that was had it, and now she has it again, and she's in the hospital. It's horrible. It's a horrible deal. Kind of a scary deal there. All right. Well, let's get started. Let me share my screen. Oh wait, did everybody get um, Mr. Pope? Did you get that email with the PowerPoints that I sent you yesterday? Maybe asleep. Or let me look. Oh, yes, he did. All right, cool. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to say you were asleep. All right, let me see. All right, and if anybody else did not, please send me an email and I will put you on the kind of the link, and it's every PowerPoint for the whole block. It should be there. If you haven't gotten that email, um, please email me and I will get you on that list. But that means, you can have all the PowerPoints. All right, all right, all right. Let's start sharing. Can y'all see my shared? Cool. And I'm not breaking up, am I? Am I good? Hold on. Chat. Yes, I'm good, or yes, I'm breaking up. Yes, I'm good. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, so creating a job description, um, excuse me, and pay rate, the factors that impact pay rate, and salary versus hourly. Um, so what is the difference between salary and hourly? Anybody? You can shout it out if you want. Anybody?
Isn't salary a set number and then hourly is based on the hours?
That is correct. Okay, I mean that's as uh, pretty much as simple as it gets. So salary is you get they basically tell you, okay, you're going to make $35,000. So what they do is they take that, divide it in the months and the pay periods, and then that's exactly what you get. You get nothing else. Okay, you could work overtime. Overtime doesn't matter in that, and we're going to be talking about a salary overtime type of deal. Um, but the difference, and we can actually talk about it now. The difference is, okay, hourly. You get paid by the hour. You typically can get overtime. You could get overtime. Some places say, well, you shouldn't get overtime or whatever else, but you can. Overtime is time and a half, and then you got double time for holiday pay times two, so pay times two, or and so you could get and you could potentially get uh, more money because of because of that. Because you're working only uh, hourly, you're able to get the get the overtime or get any of that sort of stuff. So hourly, you can kind of you get paid for the amount of hours you work. And like if you work a lot of hours, you're going to get paid for that. But salary, on the other hand, you're kind of in the mercy of your boss or the company or whatever else. Salary is you're going to be working until the job gets done. Pretty much. There is not there's really no other way of going about it. I mean, it's just when the job gets done, it's done. And be working a salary job, sometimes you feel like you get used and abused a little bit. You're working, if they say, hey, you've got to work, uh, is it possible to change your salary? Yes. Usually they will do so someone wrote in the chat, is it possible to change your salary? Yes, it is. It's just, like your yearly review or your 6-month review or whatever y'all have decided for when you reconvene to kind of, kind of discuss your salary. So it's usually once a year. Um, right now, uh, I would say you're not going to get much of a lot of people are not going to be getting too many raises right now, just because of a lot of companies are hurting, just because of COVID. So, right now it sometimes, or it might not be the best time to get a raise, you know, if you're up for a raise. Um, let's see. What are other some differences? Anybody know of any other differences of hourly versus salary? Um, Now, how about if sometimes if you're hourly, you're part-time, hourly part-time, you don't get any benefits. Usually benefits are not given to part-time people. So just kind of it depends on what you're in or what you're doing, part-time or full-time. Um, any other thing anybody wants to add anything to that salary and hourly, or are we good? Gonna move on. All right, employee contract. Okay, you can. There are jobs that are, you can get in. It's like a contract job. Um, Contract jobs, it'll basically say, hey, you've got a year to work here or 6 months to work here, whatever else, but you're on a contract. Like when I was a school teacher, a high school teacher at Del Valley High School, every year I signed a contract um, for employment. So right at the closer to the end of the year, I had to sign a contract for next year. Now, sometimes like if I left during the year, they could hold my teaching certificate through the state of Texas, and kind of I wouldn't be able to ever or wouldn't be able to teach for a year if I break my contract, like as a teacher. But there are contract like food food service facilities. Like some of I know a few people that have gone to Iraq and worked in just the um, food service and all of that as a contract labor. You can get paid pretty good money doing that, but contract labor, sometimes you don't. And let me get to this slide. Um, Most employees do not have to have a contract or any of that sort of stuff. But let me. There are contracts that you have to sign when you get a job. Now, let's talk about those. What's that? The crazy lady they call is it Karen? The one that blows up or whatever else, right? You know, there was a guy at Costco just recently in Florida that blew up and talked, was like aggressively talking to, um, to an old couple and like get back, you're threatening me or whatever else. And anyway, well, he like he had signed a contract for his work saying that basically you can't look bad, like if I do something wrong just in public setting, I could get fired as the chef, like or as he got fired from his job. But let's say I don't know, like I fraternize. I got I had to get a contract in my job right now, this job, that it says no fraternization. So I cannot, if I see you at a bar or if I see you at a restaurant, I can't go and sit with you, or I can't go drink a beer with you if you are a student. Still, once you graduate, I can do whatever, but I cannot fraternize with you. So if I see you, and or you see me and we're hanging out and someone sees us, I could get fired because that goes against my fraternization policy or contract that I had signed for my job. They have kind of ethics clause too in the contract of you've got to be ethical and all of that. So there are certain contracts you might have to sign, but contract labor is kind of what we're kind of talking about a little bit. But there's also contracts like no looking at porn on a work computer or whatever else. So they have lots of rules and regulations that some contracts that I have to sign, but those are a few other contracts. Let's see. Now, if you are kind of on probation, you also sometimes have to sign a contract of like a growth plan or a some sort of something so where you can like they can determine, okay, like more of a kind of a discipline contract, but that is another type of contract. And if anybody has any questions or want to have a statement, feel free to let jump in. Left. All right. Let's see. Has anybody, or let me try to get y'all a little bit bigger. Um, has anybody ever had to sign a contract for working or get a contract? No. Okay. Hold on. Chat. No. All right. What did I do? Hold on. Okay. Did anybody watch that Amy, the video with Amy on it? That is that Kitchen Nightmares, I think.
Yes, and she reminded me of my boss.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
but my boss is less extreme than that. I haven't got fired.
Which job is this?
Oh, I
Where is
work
this
as
at?
a cook at American Girl at the Hollows. She just doesn't handle stress well
Yeah.
and doesn't know how to cope.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy show. I've never seen anybody like that. Um,
The
so
cat part was pretty funny.
oh, the cat part? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're meowing. I mean, that's crazy. Meow. And I'm like, dude, that's weird. Um, yeah, and her husband taking the tips, like not giving any of the employees tips, but he took
Was that legal?
uh, you know what? I think as long as they pay them uh, a living salary, you know, a living wage, may I mean, it's not ethical for sure, you know, but I don't know. I think if you give them a living wage or a higher wage to counterbalance that, it might be. Um, but it was a little crazy. Um, let's see. Uh, let's see. When different when employees a confidentiality clause. You know, sometimes there are companies that will make you write up or a secrecy clause if you're working, let's say, with I don't know, like Coca-Cola. You're making Coca-Cola. They all their employees that are in the like where they make all of it, they could easily they have to have a secrecy clause or a confidentiality clause, so they will not they say they will not give out the Coca-Cola recipe, right? Or you know, if I don't know, kernels.
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. Non-disclosure. We just don't want anybody knowing what's in what. So sometimes that confidentiality, just making sure that you keep their secret and you don't tell people what is, you know, the special ingredient or whatever else.
Or if you
But
leave a company, they'll withhold your salary sometimes.
that is correct.
A non-compete.
Yes, there you go. Non-compete for sure. You know, and I've had that, you know, with jobs of, like I can't, like right now, let's say a Scoffier, I can't go and work at another culinary school while I'm working at a Scoffier, just because of, they don't want me to be they don't want me to be working for the competitors, right? So they say, you cannot teach in any other culinary school, and that's fine, but like the gen ed people, like the the people doing the math or any of your general education classes, they're all contract labor. A lot of them work at ACC, a lot of them work, you know, at other Concordia or other St. Ed's or any of those, even UT. So, you know, they don't have that clause, but they're only, you know, basically contract labor. They're only there for however long the class is, and then they move on. Let's see. Oh wait, did I? Let's see. Contract. Some courts may hold you in a higher standard. All right, good faith. So now wages. Now this right here is kind of one of those things where you feel like, you know, everybody feels like they are worth more than you get, right? I mean, you all think that, or I mean, I think I could be making more money, or I want to be making more money, right? So salaries and all of those things, that could easily get people, it's all personal when you're dealing with salary and hour, you know, just people's money in general. But you've got salary and hourly. The terms hourly and hourly is you're getting paid just like I told you, just by the hour, right? You know, whatever it is, you're getting paid for the time that you're working. Okay. But the downside is if there is any sort of like downtime, if you've ever, has anybody ever been sent home early because it was slow at work? Okay, well, that right there, I would always send home my hourly people, right? Because I'm not going to send home my salary people because they're getting paid no matter what. No matter what, they're getting paid. But my hourly people, I can cut those people, send those people out home early if we're slow, and I don't have to pay them, but I'm already paying my salaried employees. So usually my salary employees are going to be the ones that are staying there, working during a slow day or whatever else. But you know, usually you cut the most expensive hourly employee, usually, you know, or at least cut, you know, I usually try to cut usually my most expensive hourly employee, just so where I can have a little extra cash, you know, because it's slow or whatever else. But you know, so salaried employees don't get sent home early at all. They usually stay the latest because of they're on salary. They're getting paid no matter what. So you can kind of use them in a, excuse me, got the hiccups, use them and abuse them. So there's some pluses and minuses to salary and hourly, but let's see. Sorry, my dog is playing with my cords for my computer. I'm trying to keep her away. Go. Let's see. Determining, okay, so a full-time hourly employee usually gets 40 hours a week, okay? You try to give them 40 hours. You usually schedule them for like 38 or 37 hours. something like that. I usually any full-time employee, salary or hourly employee, I usually put their hours at around 35 to 37 hours instead of 40, and that gives me a little cushion to kind of allow for any extra time over, so where they're not hitting OT a lot, because overtime gets pretty pricey for me as an employee or employer, or for you as an employer, whatever else. It gets pretty pricey. If I have a bunch of people getting on overtime, I've got to be making, like, so overtime is time and a half, right? So it's your salary plus half of your salary, or your hourly. You're getting, I don't know, let's say $10 an hour. So you're getting $10 an hour plus another $5 an hour, right? Because time and a half. So that's basically $15 you're getting an hour over 40 hours, right? So it's costing me a lot more money. So I need to pull in more revenue to counterbalance that, right? So, and that's why I usually try to schedule my employees, at around 37 or 35 to 37. So where in the week, usually, someone will clock out a little bit later or whatever else. So where it just kind of counterbalances that 40 hours. So where I try not to get anybody past that 40 hours. That's kind of the scheduling part of it. Let's see. And plus hourly or salary, you can just, you work until the job is done. When I was working in a hotel as a salaried employee, there were some times where, especially during the holiday season, they would give you a hotel room, the salary, basically the executive chef and the sous chef, they would give you a hotel room at the hotel, but you're always working. They're calling you up during the night or whatever else. So being a salary employee sometimes does kind of suck. I mean, there is advantages and disadvantages, but who do you hire first, salary or hourly? Anybody?
Probably hourly, right?
No, it's salary just because you
Damn it.
and it's just because you can use that salary employee to do all your hiring and to do all your stuff, and you don't have to pay overtime, because usually at the very beginning you're working really long hours, trying to get the restaurant built or whatever else, and usually you hire the executive chef first, and then they start hiring all of the other workers. But that's what is salaried employees paid based on basically the amount that you decided on the salary, right? I mean, if you're whatever it is, it's 35,000, it's 50,000, 55,000, whatever else. It's a certain amount. But what I would always do truly is figure that out, and how much you get paid by the hour. Like if it's $55,000, what is $55,000 paid by the hour? What is that? How much do you get paid per hour? So, you might want to figure that out, because sometimes it's, they throw $35,000 at you, and sometimes it's not that much if you look at it in a hourly setting, or how much you're getting paid on an hourly basis. But usually salaried employees get a lot more benefits. Um, sometimes stock options, sometimes other things. But I do know that obviously, like hourly people do get options as well, but uh, a lot of times the salary one gets uh, a little bit more. Um, let's see, what is an hourly employee paid based on hours or hourly amount, no contract, only paid the hours that were worked. And that's one of the reasons why I always get on to employees for milking the clock, or walking slow, or are just kind of, you know, uh, lazy, and dragging butt, and not wanting to, because I pay them a certain amount of money for their time, and their time is worth this amount of money. So I want to make sure that I capture every hour, every second of their time, because you're trading your time for money, right? And I need that time, and that's what an hourly employee does. And let's see, must document their time for sure. They always have to document time. For me, I don't have to document time if I'm on salary, but hourly they have to, and that's where you have the punch card, or you have clock in and clock out. Some sort of way of determining how many hours you have worked. Um, let's see, and there are specific amounts of hours that they have to work a week. So that is hourly. How to calculate pay for salaried employees. Okay, so salaried employees is determined to work 2,080 hours a year. That's 52 weeks times 40 hours a week. So you kind of uh, just figure it out. There's 2,080 hours in a year. So you try to figure out how many weeks and how many hours a week and all of that, and that helps you determine the salary, what the hourly rate is. And how to calculate pay for hourly employees. It's an hourly employee is paid $9.62 an hour. To find out the employee's payment amount for the hour rate is multiplied by the number of hours worked in a pay period. So the $9.62 on an hour to the hourly worker is roughly about the same as making $20,000 annual salary paid to the worker. So that is basically about $20,000 if you're getting paid $9.62 an hour. So that's about so think about that. What if I said $35,000? I mean, what is that hourly? That's not much more than that. It's so it when you look at it all, you need to kind of multiply it out and figure it out because you could easily be getting screwed over. We'll get a break in about 10 minutes or so. Just kind of hang in there. Salaried employees eligible for overtime. Eligibility for overtime if their average work pay is less than the minimum set by the Department of Labor. So, you can get it, but I think, usually you don't get it. But, it really, for that one, it really depends on what state you're in, determines what you get. Let's see, must be paid one time and a half over the 40 hours of the week. I love OT, but the government takes out a lot of money when you go into overtime. They take out a little extra money. Let's see. Okay, salaried. You have okay, so the way an employee is paid for some relationship to expect, or basically a non exempt from non-exempt. So, and I'm trying to think of a good way of describing that, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to so basically, you have some salaried people are exempt for certain pay and hours. So you've just got to be really careful on what it is. For example, like if I have a underage or a 16-year-old person working for me, I've got to watch their hours and make sure that they are doing the right hours, because I can't get a 16-year-old person to work that many hours. There are rules and regulations for that, and that's something you have to be aware of. And there's Texas Workforce Commission, like a 16-year-old or underage person, or what I call a minor, they can't even use like a meat slicer. They've got to be 18 to use the meat slicer. I mean, yeah. So there are some rules and regulations when it comes to that, to underage people or minors. Let's see. All exempt people are salaried, and that's another thing. Like, why I would not exempt and non-exempt. Like some salaried employees are exempt, but not all of them are exempt. Let's see. Exceptions to the rule. Here we go. There are some exceptions to the rule. Let's see, about salaried and I've kind of gone over some of these exceptions. All right, y'all want to take a 20-minute or 30-minute break? You can write 2 or 3. 3. All right, 30 minutes. It is 6:45. So what is 30 minutes from 6:45?
7:15.
There you go. We'll reconvene at 7:15. Hey, but before I give you a break, I do want to say I did post the videos on the portal of yesterday. So every day I'm going to be posting these videos of our class, what we're doing today. So if you are absent, let's say you don't show up today, you can watch that video. Then you can email me, tell me that you watch the video, and I will change your grade from, or your attendance to here to present, and then I will give you a daily grade. So if you have to, be out for some reason, this is a way to recover your daily grade. All right. So, all right, we'll see you in at 7:15. I'm going to be here, but if you need me, I will be here. I'm going to just turn off my video. All right, we'll get started. Back again. Let me share my screen. All right. I think we left off right around here. All right, so some extra notes when it comes to hourly and some employers forbid more than 40 hours. Does any of your jobs say, hey, you cannot get overtime? And they're really a stickler for not having overtime. That is kind of something you see a lot, just because companies just don't want to pay that overtime whatsoever. Let's see, benefits, health insurance. Some employees that work are, if you work 30 hours or more a week, you get paid vacation, you get insurance, you get all of that. But if you're scheduled under 30 hours, you do not get that. And that in a lot of companies now are starting to hire like contract, and say, hey, you're on your contract labor for, I don't know, a year or whatever else. And that's how they get away from paying you insurance or giving you insurance, because contract labor people they are not required to have insurance. So that's how companies now, because insurance is expensive for the company itself. So anytime that you could get rid of paying for insurance, that's sometimes sometimes good, depending on, but it might be crappy for your employees, but it might be good for you on money wise. So it really kind of depends. um, let's see, if an employee has more than 50 full-time or more than 50 full-time employees who are 30 plus hours a week, they're eligible for employee sponsored health care. So if you have 30, and this is one of the reasons why small restaurants do not have like, if you're a line cook or whatever else, sometimes they don't have more than 50 employees. So if you have less than 50 employees, sometimes you don't have to, your company is not eligible, or you don't have to provide insurance. So depending on the place you work at, but it's got to have 50 full-time employees who are working 30 hours plus. They are eligible for basically sponsored health care. Your employee are required to do that. Salaried jobs are more likely to include paid time off and paid sick leave with than hourly. So, like for example, I do have paid time off because I'm salaried, so I get paid time off and like vacation time, and I get paid sick leave. So I think I've got like a week worth of sick leave that I can go. Um, so, that is one advantage of being salaried, that you have those kind of perks for sick leave or for I mean, sick leave for sure, especially now. But you know, you gotta think about it, especially right now. You've got a lot of hourly people getting sick, right? And when you're sick, usually you don't get time, paid for your sick day, right? So that's kind of one of the bad things about being hourly is, especially right now, you're not gonna, if you have to be out of work for a week or 2 weeks self quarantining. Some jobs, I mean, some jobs might pay, but especially right now, if you're hourly, probably not, because the companies are hurting for money right now. I mean, there's every day there's a restaurant closing that's not going to open up again. Excuse me. Let's see here. Any information? Anybody want to put anything in while we're going? All right. If you do, just please unmute yourself. Let's see. Where are you in your life? Are you, hourly? How, more, it really kind of depends on, where you are. If you're going to be hourly employee, salary employee, all of that. But scheduling, salaried workers have more regular schedule. They usually, salaried employees, they have a more of a set schedule usually, compared to hourly. They'll flip you around or move you around, but salary is more kind of set hours. I mean, but for example, I was teaching last block. I was teaching a afternoon class, like a 12 o'clock class or 1 o'clock class, and now I'm teaching a 6. So my classes kind of, my schedule kind of changes every 6 weeks, depending on what my schedule goes around, but it is more of a set schedule. There's a little more flexibility than salary. There's a little more flexibility, feeling more valued, lunch breaks, all of that, work life. On call. Has anybody ever had to be on call? I hate, I mean, that kind of sucks because you're just kind of waiting around. You can't go anywhere. You can't really do anything, or especially now you got your cell phones or whatever else. But when prior to cell phones, that kind of sucked because you had to stay at home all the time or be around a phone. But for the most part, being on call, you've just got to be ready to go in at a any time they call you, and that sometimes sucks. I hate to, because you never know what's going to go on. But weigh your options, determine, honestly, when you're getting started, you're going to get paid hourly, usually, because that's just kind of the stepping stone. Usually it starts off with hourly and then it goes to salary. You know, I would say if you were executive chef or sous chef, for sure you're going to be you're going to be sorry, my dog is biting my arm and I didn't realize she just came up and bit my arm. Stop. Um, so so there's different different options, but depends on really where you are in your career. Let's see. Writing a job description. Okay, now this is when you're like writing a job description, and this is for a one ad. When you're writing a job description for a one ad, or a you know, something that was like on poach.com or hot jobs, or you know, LinkedIn, they have job descriptions or job titles or job one ads, and this is where you write down all the things you want for an employee to have. Like, what are some things that you, if you were going to hire someone, what are some items that you would want to look for as a person, let's say a line cook position? What are some traits, or what are some things that you would probably see on the ad to or this job title or this job one ad? What would you think would be on there? Do you think you should be able to stand up?
If they have their food handler's license.
Food handler's license. Can they stand and lift 50 pounds? Why don't we
Transportation.
Yes, but I can't, sometimes I can't ask them if they, I can ask them if they have reliable transportation, but you know, and you know, but yes, for sure. You know, why would I want to ask if they can lift 50 pounds or can stand for long hours at a time? Why would I want to ask that?
Because that's what you're going to be doing as a line cook. Lifting
Okay.
boxes of produce.
Okay. So what? So what am I saying? And I'm not. And again, we're going to be talking about kind of uncomfortable things like discrimination and all of that. So you know, just understand that, you know, I mean, this is, we're just having a conversation. Like, for example, uh, would not be feasible usually to have someone in a wheelchair working on the line? I mean, has anybody ever worked in a kitchen right now? Anybody who's been in a kitchen? Do you know how much space is in a kitchen? Not that much, right? And if I did not say the person had to stand for long hours at a time, and if I didn't say that they have to lift 50 pounds, I am opening my door and opening up myself for litigation if someone that has all those skills, right? If I don't say standing up, and if I don't say lifting 50 pounds, I could easily get someone to come apply for my job or for a job that is in a wheelchair. Okay, now nothing against that at all, but the liability on my half of what if someone, you know, if that person gets, you know, poor, you know, I would have to retrofit a lot of things like tables and bring it down and do all of that sort of stuff, and it could be a liability on just safety, being able, because the wheelchair is a big thing, and it's very hard to move if there's a fire on the line and all of that sort of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want to hire people in wheelchairs. What I'm saying is that these are the things that people put in job descriptions, so where they don't get sued for discriminating against a wheelchair, or discriminating against elderly, or whatever else. You always want to put your requirements right up front, because if you don't put it up front, and then let's say if I don't put up, needs to stand for long periods of time, then if someone comes in and applies, then I don't hire them, they could easily come back and say, I'm discriminating against them because of this. So to prevent that, a lot of times you put in need to carry 50 pounds, need to stand at long periods of time, just to minimize your legal aspects of getting sued, or people coming back to you and saying that you were discriminating against their, that they're old and they can't stand for long periods of time. So that is something that's very important. Any guidelines need to happen. I mean, you need a certification. If you don't have that certification, sorry, you can't get the job. Or if you, so there are some guidelines you have to do. In anything like that, you got to put it. Let's say your facility is a non-smoking facility. Like I've worked at places where, they say there is no smoking at work at all. And if I don't put that on my job title or job description that we're looking for non-smoking employees, if I then hire them, if I don't have that non-smoking thing in that description, then I hire them, then they light up, and then I fire them. They could turn around and sue me and probably win, because I didn't tell them up front that, or I would have to give them a year to quit smoking or whatever else. So, any information you want on there, write it down. Anything specific you should write down for a job description or job title. You want the title, be short and clear of what it is. Is it a line cook? Is it a dishwasher? Is it a prep cook? Is it parking lot attendant? Is it whatever? I don't know whatever it is, but be short and specific, so where people won't take it, it's not going to be vague. Let's see. Task. What are the major tasks? Responsibilities, qualifications, education, degree, license, certifications, anything like that. Let's see. Working conditions. What are the working conditions? Any physical requirements? That's what I was talking about. Like, you need to carry 50 pounds. You need to stand for long periods of time. Any of that sort of stuff. And I skipped one. Who do you report to? Do you report to, I don't know, the general manager or whatever else? So whoever you report to, and then Then you've got salary or benefits. What are your hours, salary, hourly, or slash benefits, and have that written down. And that is what you need, and that tells you exactly what requirements you need to have this job. Now, let's say, I want to only hire women in my restaurant. I need to make sure I put on this that we're only looking for women chefs, or chefs, that are only ladies, or whatever else, or guys with beards only, or bald people. As long as I you know put that in my job description, and I don't hire someone, if I don't hire someone with a beard, and I require everybody else to have a beard, well, then I could be open myself up for litigation. They could sue me for discrimination against people with beards, or whatever else. So as long as I have it in my job title, it's very important or my job description, put everything you think you need, or requirements, or any sort of anything like that you want to put in your job description. If not, you could potentially get sued for discriminating against whoever it is, or whatever it is. Labor unions. I've never worked in a place where you had a union, but you do have some union workers. Not union work is, you'll see that in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a big union worker area, or Nevada in general. And so there are certain things. Sometimes you have to pay union fees. Sometimes you have to pay certain fees to work in a union. But there's pluses and minuses to union work. If you're with the union and you are and they decide to strike, you've got to strike as well, because you're part of the union. But it really kind of depends, what it is. But you don't see it too much, but you in the food industry as much anymore as you do, like in other skilled jobs, other kind of, I would say, like mechanical, or air conditioning union, and all of that sort of stuff. So you have a few different unions out there. Sorry. Like cost of living. Now, this is a big deal here in Austin, and getting to become a bigger deal. Cost of living adjustment, or raises. I there are some companies that will give you like a cost of living wage raise every year. It doesn't happen a lot of times. It really kind of depends. I mean, Austin's getting more expensive every year. And this is what happens if you don't keep up with the cost of living wages. It's like in Denver, Colorado, or in Colorado area, where honestly, or like Vail, Colorado, or even California, like San Francisco, that the people that that work in San Francisco usually can't live in San Francisco because it's so expensive, and the wages that they make is not enough to actually to give you enough money to live in San Francisco. So they usually have to live outside of San Francisco and drive in. But you do have cost of living wages or raise on that. Let's see. Long-term labor contracts, yes and no. I haven't really ever given anybody a long-term labor contract or whatever else, but that could, it could happen. And sometimes, like for example, I know that not in the food industry, right, that I know of, but in other industries right now, people are getting their salary cut in half because of the company is not bringing in as much money as it was. So I know a few people that got their salary cut by 20% or 15% or whatever else until kind of COVID is over and all of that, or until the business starts to get a little more busier. So, you might see that every once in a while, or hear something about that. Let's see. Legislation, you talk about raising the minimum wage. What is minimum wage right now? Anybody know?
$7.25.
7.25. And how long has it been like that? A long time.
Yeah.
A long time. So, 10.25 in where? Illinois? Huh. All right, you think about, okay, now, they've been talking about raising the minimum wage up to like $15 an hour. Well, just kind of think about that. And how are we going to get that money? So, and this is starting off at $15 an hour. So that means my dishwashers are making $15 an hour. And then that means that, and that's a lower skill level. So the higher skill levels, the line cooks like the saucier or the grill or whatever else, you're going to have to pay them even more, right? So $15 is starting. So my dishwashers get $15 an hour. Then my higher skilled level people, I'm going to give them $17, $18, $20 an hour, maybe, depending on where we're at. And that cost of raising of the wages is going to raise the cost of the food, right? Because to pay for those wages, I've got to sell more food, or I've got to make more profit on that food. So I have to raise the cost of the prices on my menu to actually cover the cost of all the extra wages I'm giving my employees. So it's going to hit the customer the hardest if and when we raise the minimum wage, because the customers are going to be having to foot the bill for all the extra costs. Because if they keep doing the same sales as they were, usually, it's not going to, you're not going to make more money if you're doing the same sales. So you've got to raise the cost up, or get more butts in the chairs in the dining room, or whatever else. And right now, dining rooms, what are they at 50%? Open 50% capacity? Is that what it is right now? Or is it 25%? Like restaurants?
It's 50. It used to be 75, but they moved it back
Okay,
down.
okay, so 50%. So, I mean, if you have a capacity of, 100 people right now in your restaurant to seat, you can only put 50 people in that restaurant. And, are you making enough money to cover those higher wages? And that's why you'll see, a lot of our, if you do have, like at hotels, a lot of times, the hourly people are getting furloughed or laid off because the salary people are going to get paid no matter what. So they're going to use the salaried employees and furlough the hourly employees because the salary employees are going to get paid no matter what.
So what's
And
what's furlough?
furlough, like you're laid off. You're furloughed means you're laid off, but you still have a job. So like when the business comes back, they will rehire you or they'll hire you back. Getting laid off, you don't get that chance of getting hired back. But furlough means where you get laid off from that company, but that company says, "Hey, I'm going to hire you back when business gets better." So that's the difference of kind of getting laid off and furloughed. Furloughed means you'll get your job back when the business gets better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. It's just some verbiage. But let's see. Payday, ability to pay. Um, have you ever, has anybody ever had their job or their paycheck bounce before? Or
Oh yeah.
or they tell you, hey, can we pay you in cash instead of a check this month or whatever else? That is your sign to run as far away from that restaurant as possible.
I got
Because
shorted $300 last paycheck.
really,
Yeah.
Whoa.
what did they say? Or did you talk to them?
Well, not yet, but I'm planning to do that when I quit.
Well, I would do it a
300.
little. I would do it before, just as soon as possible, just because, so they can reimburse you. Because that could be legal actions if they're not careful, because they're not paying you the actual set, and that is whatever they gave you as your pay. That's a contract, and they're breaching their contract. So that could be legal actions. But the reason why I say you might want to start finding another job is because if that happens once, it's going to happen again. What they're doing is they're floating money, like what I used to be able to do back in the days when you could write a check, and the checks, take about a week or so to go through the bank. You would float a check. I would write a check for a bill, and then know that it's probably not going to get taken out for a couple of days, so where I can float bills, right? Float all my bills and kind of manage that. They're doing the same thing, but when they're not paying the employees, that is a sign that that restaurant is really hurting for money, and that you're your days are numbered in that restaurant. That restaurant's probably going to fail within the next 6 months if they are not giving you your paycheck, or they say, hey, instead of a paycheck, we're going to just pay you in cash this month. And that right there is just a total red flag of, wow, this business is not doing well at all. So you need to maybe get go look for another job, for sure. Oops. Sometimes this has a mind of its own. Let's see, most important factor of the wage rate, employees overall. So basically the factors of wages, is it hazardous work? Do you get hazard pay? I don't know if I've ever seen hazard pay in the industry, but there might be if you're in a dangerous location or whatever else. They could maybe give you hazard pay, or it kind of really depends. But your education can determine the amount you get paid. Workers' experience, you're kind of, I would say more your experience, the overall knowledge of the job, that also could affect your pay. What else are things that could make you get paid more? If you have, I don't know, a
Foreign language skills.
There you go. Foreign language skills, for sure. I kick myself. I should have learned another language. I just never did. I took, French in high school, and culinary a little bit, but, I know enough to get me by. But, I think having multiple languages is really, and especially if you're in Texas and you're going to stay in Texas, knowing Spanish is probably, I would pay people a lot more money if they knew Spanish, because of where you're located in Texas. I think in California, what is it? What is it? Hey, I can't remember all the language, and but for sure Spanish is always a good language to have. What else? Like having a specific skill, some sort of skill, that a sellable skill that no one has in that restaurant.
Security license, CDL, security
Yep.
clearance.
Yep, exactly. All of those things that could all give you more money, for sure. If that could help you get a higher wage for your, you also have bonuses. If I keep my budget in line, and and if there's any leftover money, sometimes that is a bonus that I can give out to employees, or what have you. But so you've got bonus pay as well. Let's see. Here you go, bonuses right here, employees, bonuses. That's it. I did my camera. There we go. Bonuses are not something that is always going to happen. It's going to just kind of, whenever someone they have extra money or they give you a Christmas bonus, whatever else, but it's not always, it's not required, and it doesn't always happen. Now, Kevin, I just looked in the chat, and it says I miss hazard pay. What hazard pay were you doing, or what were you? What kind
Oh,
of
military.
military? Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, that's right. Let's see. Um, let's see. Employees at the top range, special pay raises award employees. Sometimes you get pay has been frozen, or like they'll freeze your pay of like, hey, you're not gonna, that could, you're stuck at a certain amount if, I don't know, let's say, a CEO of a company can only get paid, I don't know, a certain amount of money, and they're going to freeze their amount so they can't make any more. So if they're at 1.9 million, or, like, or whatever it is, they might get they say, I'm going to freeze your wages so where you're not going to be getting any more raises whatsoever, because you're at the top of the line. You can't get paid any more money. So that sometimes happens, but I've never seen it in this industry, or in the food industry. It's all about sales. It's our pay is all driven by sales, plain and simple. If we have slow sales, our pay, or the amount of hours you get paid, or anything like that, is going to dwindle down no matter what. We totally work on sales. If our, that's how we get paid. What kind of employee are you? I'm not going to ask you, but you can, it's rhetorical. Basically, you kind of think about it yourself. Are you productive? Are you, do you ask questions? Do you don't ask questions? Are you lazy? Are you, do you, all these things. What are you? Are you a employee that's going to kind of a go-getter, that's going to go and get things done, and it really kind of depends on, your pay depends on the way you work also. If you're going to be a lazy employee, I'm not going to give you raises. I'm not going to give you extra, because you're wasting my time. Because you trade your time, you give me your time, and I give you money for your time, right? So that means that if you're, sleeping, or not, on your phone all the time, or whatever else, and you're working and you're on your phone, I'm not getting 100% of your attention. So I'm not giving you, not going to give you a raise or any of that sort of stuff, for sure. So here's a couple of videos if you would like to look at them. And the homework you do not have to worry about on this. Shut this off. Hold on a second, stop sharing. Okay, so now tomorrow we're going to go over the project. So please make sure you're here tomorrow. If you're not here tomorrow, I think I had someone text me saying they were not going to be here tomorrow. If you're not going to be in class tomorrow, please watch the video that I'm going to post on the portal. Right? I'm going to actually show you where, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'm going to show you where I'm going to keep those videos, or where I'm putting those videos. All right, hold on. Let me get on the portal real quick. Hold on 1 second. Am I freezing? No. Sorry. When I'm sharing my screen, it sometimes goes slow. No, it doesn't want to do anything. Hold on. All right, well, I will. No, it's just spitting. All right, well, I'm not going to mess with it, but if you look at where it says day 1 or day 2, day 3, I have put a YouTube link in there where you can look at the video that way. Hold on. Let me stop sharing and then I'll try to get it. See if it'll go faster. All right, well, I'll show you tomorrow. I'll have it written down, but if you look on the portal, there is a spot where you'll see the videos, but please watch the video if you're not going to be in class at any point in time. It will take me a couple of hours to convert the video and to post it, but it will be posted on the portal. It's a link to a YouTube, my YouTube account that has the videos on it. But it's imperative that you do that, and then it's imperative that you email me saying that you watched it, so I can give you credit for that. Okay, so please just make sure of that, and have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out. Bye guys, have a great day.